side lying hip adduction, or adduction as some people will call it. Most people are unaware of these giant inner thigh muscles that are really powerful hip flexors and hip extenders depending on where they are in relation to our pelvis as we go through phases of movement. We're going to use the ground here as a way to kind of anchor ourselves, to get some feedback, to try to train in isolation those adductor muscles. And then this is going to look a little bit different for everybody because we can change our torso positioning to change the difficulty or what we're feeling in those adductor or the inner thigh muscles. So it's really important that you try your best for now to maintain that straight position. I'll give you a front on and a side view to give you an example of what I'm talking about, because this is going to go, we will use this as an example to kind of progress through different phases of how we can train our adductors. But for now, we're trying to stay in a neutral hip position to kind of train both sides of the adductors, or there's a bunch of different muscles that kind of make up the adductors. And then we'll start moving into some hovers and we'll moving into flexion and extension while we're training those. So for the purpose of this video, we're trying to maintain a neutral hip position to train our adductors. So I like to start on the ground. And then what I'm trying to do is keep my hips stacked. So I have found an easy way to do that is just to bring this top leg to the ground. And then what I can do is I can leverage the foot into the ground to be able to drive the opposite leg off the ground. So some people get irritability on the outside of the hip laying on a hard surface. So if you need a mat, lay on a mat so that it's a little bit softer. But the idea here is I'm going to drive my arm into the ground and my foot into the ground to create tension through my body. And I'm trying to bring this leg as high off the ground as possible and then come back down. Now when I do that, I'm trying my best not to deviate forward or backward. I'm trying to stay in a straight line from my head to my heel or my toe. And typically what we'll do is we'll ask you to hold that at the top for like 1001, 1002, but that usually is typically depicted in your programming notes. So pay attention to that. So an example here, arm into the ground, foot into the ground, and I'm driving up into adduction and I'm holding that position. So if I go from the side and I'm trying to get in a straight line here at the camera, I'm trying to bring that foot all the way. Hopes if you guys can see my foot. I'm trying to bring my foot in a straight line. I'm trying not to go forward. And I'm trying not to go backward. Now the other piece is your setup. So the further that top leg comes up, the more you're going to kind of lock your pelvis up and it becomes harder to pick that leg off the ground. And then to further increase the difficulty, I can come up onto my elbow. So when I come up onto my elbow, I rotate my pelvis and I'm shortening these muscles that cross that hip joint. When the muscle is shorter, it's a lot harder for it to contract and lift the leg off the ground. The hardest position is going to be up tall, especially without compensation. So start on your side, and then if you can get this foot flat and have your foot around the same level as the knee that's down, do so. And then ways that you can progress is by bringing the foot a little bit higher and then kind of elevating your torso to your elbow, scoot your elbow under you, keep scooting up, and then the hardest example would be on the hand. And again, we typically do this for reps with a little bit of an isometric hold at that top to create tension so you can feel the muscles that are being worked.